Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Very
GG.
nice.
GG Muskie.
Well done.
And Shug's not far away.
Thanks to
Almost.
Greg. Well, and for the sportsmanship of waiting for Jack.
Yeah, that was amazing. This entire run
Yeah.
is just awe-inspiring from many perspectives. It's great.
The FF cuties.
BFFs.
God.
Everybody love and peace, you know?
Oh, God.
Exactly. Selfie's the best.
I second that notion.
Mm-hmm. Selfie is the bestest.
But yeah, thanks for you guys for commentating the run. I really appreciate it. It seemed like chat
It was really, really fun.
Yeah, it was a
like,
lot of fun.
Enjoyed it.
Chat's been popping off. I'm very quiet, but like these guys, thank you so much for like being amazing. It was like super entertaining for me to listen to. Like it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank all of you. It's really been an honor. Someone who just came up to the speedrunning community in general, Final Fantasy lover for my whole life. Like this really is an honor. So thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
I
here for you too. It's
Repeat-
been great.
just want to repeat that sentiment as well. It's been an honor to even be considered to be allowed to commentate on this. So thank you so much to Muskie, Shug, and Jack for having the trust and faith in us to pull it off.
And for
Heck
for
yeah.
great entertainment, actually. This has been an awesome relay race.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah, a
been
lot of
roller
ups and
coaster.
downs. A lot
Yeah.
of ups and downs, but it's been really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned really how close Shug and Muskie ended up at the end.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Because they did time the amount of time they stopped. So they stopped for an equal amount of time for let Jack catch up. So it is actually that close, which is
It was
very
so close before I just forgot how to do that menu at the end. It was so sad.
GG, Shug.
Yeah,
Yeah, well done,
GG.
Shug.
Shug.
Jack,
Thank you, GG
and
Muffins, and
it's
GG's to
CFI
Jack as
right
well.
now.
Jack's really close to the end too. Not far away now. Just the fight
Close
to go.
out here with the Final Fantasy VIII segment. What do we have next for our viewers?
Mystic Quest.
I believe it's Mystic Quest.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll
And
do
two
it.
awesome.
Sorry?
Did we want to do introductions for the Mystic
I was
Quest?
gonna say we can. We have this fight takes roughly 8 minutes. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves and maybe start talking, just let us. Once you see the final phase of Ultimecia again, maybe you can just pop it back over to us.
Sure. What's up, y'all? My name is Vic Huang Balls. I'm going to be here chilling with you for Mystic Quest and my partner in crime.
I'm the RPG chick, and I'll be here too. Hi, y'all.
Hell yeah. We want you all to enjoy what is perhaps the most serious speedrun on this relay. It's so serious. One of the hardest battles of the entire speedrun is the first one. We'll get to enjoy it once our last team gets there. But just spoilers, you can die on that fight. And it's like literally the beginning. Like, what are you even supposed to do? It's wild. But yeah, we
What do you
can.
mean? There's no RNG in this run whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about, Vic.
It's a high skill game for sure. It is. I'm not even being ironic about it. But yes, definitely a very RNG heavy game as well. You know, the game gets a lot of flack for being very simplistic, and you know, for us missing FF5 because of it. But as far as routing goes, execution goes, this game definitely takes a lot of work. A lot of thought was put into how to make things as optimal as possible. Of course, there's tricks in this game you'll see as we move along. And menuing. I know we got a lot of menuing fans here in this channel, and this game is no exception. But you got two runners going on right now, and we're waiting for our third. But the one who started first is the Beast from the East. We have R0109. He's a Japanese runner, very cool person. Kind of came out the scene out of nowhere and just started kicking some butt. Very, very, very happy to have him here. And then we have Fumo Mailing, formerly known as some DDR noob. I'll probably call him DDR a lot on accident.
No worries.
That name for a lot of years, but yeah, super great runner. Even if he did lose to me at the limit break race a few years ago, no one remembers that but me, so that's all right. Very, very skilled. Even conquered the mighty El Magus for like, I don't know, like 2 hours or something like that before Magus took it back. But, you know, it's okay. Very, very, very good runner. He's a beast. He's just not from the East. That's the other guy. And yeah, we got El Magus hanging out eventually. You know how Magus rocks, so he has to be put in the handicap. He's got to start 8 minutes back just so everybody else has a chance, of course.
Sounds about
We'll
right.
see how the luck goes. But yeah, glad to be here representing Team Choco.
That's right. We got Chokamin, we got Tanbamin. Eventually we'll have Mogjamin. It's Team Benjamin, y'all. I like it.
All of those was El Magus' suggestion, and roll of it.
Alright, I think now that we have the usual BS out of the way, so a lot of this run comes down to, let's just start with like input speed. There are certain aspects of the game where you can just hold the button down and it's fine, but there's a lot of mashing to do in this game. Thankfully, you can mash almost anything. And so it kind of starts with there, and then there's just really like a lot of tiny little things that maybe we'll mention across the board when it comes up. But when to switch weapons, when it's appropriate to do that, but also like trying to do that at times where it makes sense to do. What spells you should use when. There's a lot of thought put into that, and definitely a lot of let's say a little bit of cheating is going to happen here too. But this is speedrunning. We don't call it that.
Yeah, this game has an incredible soundtrack. Lots of people love it for the unique sprite art, for the fact that the monsters kind of decompose a little bit as your battle goes along, depending on if it's a regular battle or a mid boss or an elemental boss. They have different phases they go through, and it's really neat.
But all right, yeah. So I think there's a lot of things we're gonna have to revisit from the beginning once we get there. But in the meantime, it's really so far just a whole lot of like, hey, how do we get through these battles as quickly as possible? Right now, our partner character Tristan is kind of the main damage dealer, and Benjamin just kind of exists a little bit. But one magical item that was picked up very recently by R0109 is seeds. These are magic replenishing items, and one thing you'll come to see is possibly eventually we might see some bits of duping here. Magic is how you get through this game very, very quickly, and you're very much supposed to have a limited amount. But when you can just replenish your magic pretty much anytime you want, you can speed up this game quite a bit.
I guess we might jump back in just for the final fight of Final Fantasy VIII for Jack.
Yeah, just close out this last Ultimecia fight and hand off the mic to the Mystic Quest community.
So as it's scripted, Ultimecia starts every fight in the final phase with Last Judgment, which is supposed to reduce all party members' HP to 1. But of course, as we have Hero, all party members are invulnerable at the moment. Irvine needs to shoot off 8 shots of AP ammo. Normally,
5 more hits.
Depends on normally what high, depending on the 20% high and low level that Ultimecia is.
4.
And now he just needs the 5 hits.
5 hits.
Yeah,
It's a
something
nice
that
crit
happened
result,
differently from our other Ultimecia fights is Jack had the pulse ammo that he was using in the earlier phase of the Ultimecia fight.
Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that
Three more.
Selfie here is hitting a little bit harder than Mutski's Selfie, because Demi's didn't get blown away for Bram.
I got the baby.
Got the vapor waiting.
Good old Cherub.
It's like the dreaded thing to see when you're on a PB run and you're almost about to get a PB, and next thing a Cherub appears. And it's like an instant 12, 15 seconds loss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, well, enjoy your 15-second time loss from your PB now.
Nice PB.
Do you want to call
Here's
the
this
Jack?
one, too. Looks like Irvine's gonna get the last hit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Draw Apocalypse here.
Yeah, I think we're a bit behind you, Jack.
And time.
Perfect. GG, Jack.
Time it is.
GG, Jack.
GG, Team
Well done,
Mob.
Jack.
GG.
Thanks to all
Thank
the
you, everyone.
Thanks to the runners. Thanks to everyone. From
Yeah,
my-
cheers for having us.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself again before you go? Are we good?
Yeah.
GG's to Braum for me. There you go. That's all I got.
Yeah, really staying cool despite the technical issues.
All technical
GG.
difficulties.
GG all three. It was
Thanks.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you so much,
for
everyone. It's
coming.
been a blast.
Yeah.
Have fun with Mystic Quest,
Really-
everyone.
Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck to the Mystic Quest runners.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all. All right, we are right on time for Magus to hit the tutorial battle with the Behemoth. And as kind of alluded to, you can actually die to this battle. All you can do is kind of sit there and hold A and attack him to death. But you get enough misses like Magus just got, or if Behemoth crits you, you actually have to restart the battle. I really don't know if they meant to do this on purpose, just to show you, hey, you can never lose. Like, you can actually game over. You can just restart the battle, or if they're just, I don't know. I really don't even know how to explain the battle other than like you can just get Magus like right now and then die.
That was the commentator's curse if I ever saw it.
Oh, and he got crit, dude.
That's oh dear.
Oh! Bailed out. Insane.
Wow.
It survived. That's all I
Wow.
can
See,
for.
just when you think you're gonna handicap the man, he comes back. See, he can't be stopped.
40 seconds lost, but that's fine. My team doesn't need to catch up, right? Oh, wait.
You got the whole relay for that. Just put it on their shoulders. It's not your fault.
I mean, it isn't, so there's that.
So, there's a variation on the route I just did. You'll notice that I did not grab Quake. I am doing a slightly different seed routes because we picked up the seeds earlier in the Bone Dungeon. That replenishes the magic charges that we have for a character that we use the seed on. So Benjamin and your partner, they both have their own individual spell charges. And I'm going to be using a bit more seeds in my variation of the route I'm using.
Alright, so Magus just got Kaylee. Basically, you rotate a second partner throughout this game. As we'll kind of come to see, the game mechanics for this game are pretty simplistic. I don't want to really say dumbed down. It has a very specific intent, and you don't play much of the game by yourself. You usually have a partner with you who's often stronger than you are, at least kind of in the early goings, especially where you don't really have a lot going on with the main character. You'll hear a lot about RNG a lot. There is a lot of RNG in this game. There's really no avoiding it. There's small things like how often you're missing. This is going to come into play in the level forest, which is where Magus is at right now. Someone misses, extends the battle by at least one round. There's a lot of little things like that. What attacks the enemies use? Does it kill someone? Because no one's dead permanently or anything like that, but it slows you down. There's just like a lot of little things that just slow you down over time. On top of some particularly famous portions of the game where you can get some wild swings.
We do have an interesting boss mechanic glitch coming up too here with Goose. So in the course of this fight, and you might have already seen it on Fumo Fumo Mailing and with RO109, you actually use life on the boss, which you just missed. White magic, when you use it on enemies, can actually miss. It's dependent on your own accuracy, so it has the same chance of missing as your weapons, basically. So there's a little bit of a glitch with this boss, this mid-boss, that life will actually one-shot it. And there's a good bunch of creatures that, even though they're not really classified as undead, the life spell will actually one-shot them.
Yeah, for US it actually works backwards. So even though it does work correctly when you use it on your own party, it actually is kind of oddly like a death spell, and so it'll actually kill a bunch of enemies that are susceptible to that. It shouldn't work like that. And on the flip side, there are other undead enemies that life should work on because of this weird bug or whatever. It doesn't work. So it's just like it's an interesting trade-off. There's certain things you can use it on that you shouldn't, and there's certain things you should be able to use it on. It doesn't work, so it's like it's cool. It does get fixed in the Japanese version because in this rare case, the Japanese version, as Foexel's alluded to, it came out after. So there are actually some slight differences. If you're paying any attention at all to the other two runners that are not in the Bone Dungeon, you're seeing one of the other mechanics of this game where, again, everything's pretty simplified, but you do get different weapons and different gear. And the thing about the weapons is you can switch off between a sword, a claw, an axe, and a bomb. And not only do they do different things and give you different aspects of battle, there are dungeons that are built around these items too. So they have to climb using the claw, they might have to bomb walls, you might have to chop down trees, or I guess stab switches. I guess that's what they were going for. So all of those mechanics are in there as well.
Yeah, you're also going to notice, especially when we get to the second half of the run, Benjamin or Tanjamin, Mogjamin, Chokomin, he's going to die a lot. And he's basically going to be super underleveled for the majority of the run. And at least at the beginning now, like you see, Megas is not giving him any kind of heals whatsoever. And at the beginning, it's really not necessary because Tristram, thankfully, is quick enough to do damage to defeat the monsters that he's fighting, followed by, hopefully, Ben quick enough so that he doesn't die again beforehand.
So nice bit of RNG on our side. If you saw with the centaurs, they can confuse a party, and you typically don't want that to have that happen. But you might sit there and prolong the fight. But he got lucky and got a quick out turn on the next round. So there's just a lot of little things like that add up to your advantage or add up to your time loss. Usually it's time loss, but sometimes things work out in your favor.
Yeah, and additionally in the Bone Dungeon here, we also don't want to have any formations of threes, so it is possible to run away from fights and go back into them for different formations, whether one monster, two monsters, or three monsters. So in the Bone Dungeon especially, we don't want to fight any fights with three monsters. However, once the seeds are picked up, it's actually a little bit beneficial for duping, which Vic mentioned earlier.
It's a really simple task to execute. You basically just use it and then back out, or you queue it up and then don't actually finish up your turn and just back out all the way and run. It'll not only put one back in because you didn't actually use it, it'll give you an extra one for whatever reason. What was I going to say? No, I forgot. As RPGC already mentioned, like Tristram's cool, he's definitely a lot stronger than you, but he really only has kind of one thing that he does, and that's throw ninja stars. And it's good damage, but when you have a 3-pack, it's just, you don't really have the capability to wipe them out in one round because Tristram's just one dude and your bomb damage gets split. And so it's not very great, but you pay enough attention to the other two runners and you'll see that once you get Phoebe and really just access to magic in general, you start clearing away enemies very, very quickly. They will not be fighting anything that's not they will not be fighting anything that's like off the beaten path. Like if they're gonna go off somewhere, like it's either directly to finish the dungeon or if it's an item they're gonna have to pick up, there will not be any extra encounters with us. We are working off of a pretty low level run, which does make a difference. Leaves Ben, I don't want to say kind of worthless sometimes, but he's definitely almost always, if not literally always, the weakest link. And you're really left dependent on your partners. But thankfully, there's a trick to help strengthen your partners. In a way, this game is kind of run in sort of a new game plus sort of way. We actually make use of a glitch called, or I don't even know what it's called, but basically, yeah, the resistance glitch, thank you. Where if you have a file with your final companion saved, you load that up, You don't have to, but you can just to make sure and reset the game and then start a new game. It'll actually load up that companion's resistances against your new ones. And so that definitely helps them stay tough and actually act a little bit faster than they're supposed to.
So yeah, I did forget to get an item earlier, which is the Seal Shield. That gives a speed boost, so you'll see that I struggle against centaurs a bit because of that. Nothing I can do about it now, but just play on.
So it looked like Magus had a pretty reasonable Skullrus Rex fight, and then I missed Fumo's, but RR0109 barely made his, if I recall correctly. We had a dead Tristram and a Ben that could have been outturned and killed when he got him, so that was nice. And then RR0109 is on Squid and just got him right now. So that's definitely one of those bosses where it's like, well, you hold A, someone attacks, someone bombs, you want to get crits, you want to not get owned by damage rolls. Maybe it goes fast, maybe it doesn't. There's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah, it's basically 100% dependent on whether Phoebe wants to crit with her bow and arrow or not.
But yeah, besides resistances, definitely speed. It's incredibly important that you're in a position where at least your partner is always going first, because that nets you a certain amount of safety when it comes to healing and things like that. It's not. There are certain situations where it's not a guarantee, but you want to push that as much as possible. You really can't depend on Benjamin just because he's too low level and too slow. So yeah, that's where Fumo's comment about Steel Shield comes in. It does give a minor speed boost. Is it like ridiculous? Not necessarily, but every little bit often helps. You'll come to see that Fumo will actually get a different shield later on, just for those specific reasons of like, do you need these things? Like, really, like have to have these things? No, but even with this game's RNG, like as much as you can mitigate while not losing very much time, that's probably the decision you're going to make. And then there's basically 4 basic items in this game. There's a cure potion, heals HP, a heal potion that heals statuses. You have refreshers, which I think heals one very specific thing, if I recall correctly. They like never get used. And you have seeds, which were already talked about before. It's not important just to have those items. It's actually important that you pick them up in a very specific order too. There is actually going to be some substantial inventory glitching happening later, and the setup starts early in terms of when you pick things up.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, since Fumo's gonna pick up the other shield, I think the inventory glitching is a little bit different than we might see on the other 2 runners.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct.
I'm sure you'll have to be the one to talk about that. I'm a little less familiar with that business.
I will explain that in due time. Actually, one of the artifacts of this different route change is happening as soon as I exit the Winter Cave. I will grab a chest that contains the heal potions to set up my inventory. And then I'm going to be doing a early underflow, which will affect the inventory just slightly. So I'll explain it as I go. So one of the chests that I grab here is the heal potions. I want to clear the cure potions that I got earlier in the Bone Dungeon. And then we're going to be buying 0 cure potions at Aquaria.
But yeah, we can definitely mention all that again. In the meantime, our 0109's in the old pillar puzzle. You can, if you're not paying enough attention, not that I wouldn't know from experience here, push the pillars in the wrong area, at which point in time you can screw yourself over. It's not super hard, and in fact, the speedrun doesn't even do it quite as intended. There's a little bit of skipping you can do. But yeah, you just kind of have to be careful, because if you do get it stuck, you're going to have to leave, and unfortunately, all the enemies come back if you leave and come back.
Yeah, the intended way was for you to go up and around to the left and then up and around to the right. But as Vic said, we're going to skip the up and around to the right-hand part and go right to the snow crab.
Snow crab's actually a really rough boss. Oftentimes with the boss fights in Mystic Quest, it's a lot of like, there's maybe two different maybe three scenarios to look out for. Like if A happens, do X. If B happens, do Y. And then you're kind of just left for sitting there hoping that the boss does certain things and then doesn't do other things to kind of help speed you up. And Crab is definitely no different. You're really hoping he doesn't do a lot of these high damaging things to limit the amount of healing you have to do. And if you do have to possibly heal, you definitely want to make sure that you go first. And I think Crab can confuse someone, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It has Stare, which can inflict confusion.
Yeah, so that something like that happens to Phoebe or something like that, who is your life's blood as far as healing and damage, then it's like, ooh, you're in for some rough times there.
You do grab the heal spell before.
Mm-hmm. And then R0109 is just opting to just leave Ben dead because he knows Crab's almost dead. So no problem there. Honestly, it looked like a pretty good fight to me. And then Fumo is on his way as well. Gonna push those pillars. And let's see where Magus is at. I think he's working his way through Wintry. So, yeah, like, there are no random encounters in this game. You can see every single encounter outside of a very specific gimmick, like in the Ice Pyramid where R's at right now, where the enemies technically are standing there. You just can't see them until you get a magic item, but we're not going to go out of our way to pick it up. But you can see everybody. That's the good news. The bad news is that there are really small and specific narrow paths where you just have no choice but to fight a bunch of these enemies. And so while there's a lot of times where it's just like, it's the next one in line, you have to fight it. And there are definitely other times, though, where you might pick a certain enemy, like you might pick a worm versus a turtle or something like that, based on what abilities you want to use on it and what routing you're doing with your magic and things like that. So they're like, as simplistic as this game, like, is and gets ragged on about, like, when it comes to speedrunning, like, everything is thought out, like, everything is.
We are very selective about which formations we like to see, and if something doesn't work out for us, we usually have to offer a quake.
Alright, let's see here. So Fumo is going to be hitting up the crab right now, while R is just working his way through the particularly long dungeon, the Ice Pyramid. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, the Ice Pyramid is a little bit of a longer dungeon than we've encountered so far, and it does have a couple of floors of back and forth because it requires you to go to one side to hit a switch and then back around to the other side.
Yeah, so it looks like Fumo and Stevie getting pummeled a little bit, but let's see how the rest of it goes.
So there's an interesting thing, if you've noticed, a lot of the runners have been switching back and forth between auto and manual for different things for their partner. So there's a couple of built-in quirks, especially for partners that have Cure Spell and Life Spell. So if Ben does die and you have your partner on auto, they're automatically going to revive Benjamin. And either of the HP for either person drops below half, they're also going to be using the Cure Spell, either on one person or both people. So the auto command is actually used back and forth quite a bit to kind of help speed up the battles a little bit, because if you know that you need a cure, you can just put your partner on auto and they'll take care of everything.
Yeah, it's definitely that kind of stuff that provides a lot of the depth that's in this game, and knowing what to do when, knowing what you can get away with. Like, even the amount of times you go into the menu to heal your party, let's say, like the more you're doing that, the slower your run's going. And so it's a combination of like what makes sense, what isn't, how aggressive you want to be, or how safe you want to be. It's a lot of little things I think people take for granted, just because like there are a lot of wild swings in RNG with this game too, where you can make every right decision and lose 12 minutes and it's not your fault, but at the same time, like I know that I personally like if I had the same RNG as any of the 3 that are running today, like we would not get the same time. I would still be slower than all 3 of them for a lot of different reasons. So it's just you don't want to never take away from any of these dudes' skill. They definitely have a lot, and then once we have that as our foundation of like, wow, these guys are really good, then we can enjoy the roller coaster of like, wow, they're really good and they have a really bad time anyway. Just because that's how the game goes. I was gonna say sometimes, but I guess really it's all the time.
I mean, poor R just got petrified quite a few times fighting that last fight there. But yeah, because it's not just the bosses. Literally, any mob can just petrify, confuse you until the party members do away with each other. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can happen in this run.
Little things you might want to try to pay attention to are like a lot of the weapon switches too. So, like our finishing combat with bombs, and then making sure to remember to switch to sword in the transition out of battle and into the dungeon. That way you don't walk up to the switch and then lose the frames to switch the weapon there. There's a lot of little things like that. You can actually soft lock the game too if you transition at the correct frame or frames in that transition, so you do have to be careful. I don't really expect something like that to happen. It's actually pretty easy to do if you're like a masher, but these dudes will be fine. I've never cursed anyone in my life, so I really don't expect to see it.
I'm out of thunders, and I took an extra seat because of my earlier mistake, because I noticed I used quite a bit of extra thunders than usual. That's depending on this formation.
And there's definitely things like that too, right? Like you can use as much magic as you want, and you can just dupe seeds and then be fine. Like there's nothing run-ending about a mistake like that, but it does obviously cost you a little bit of time.
And the good thing is, I mean, aside from obviously being able to restart any fight that you want, even if you do mess up things in your inventory, there are ways around it to fix it a lot of the times, which is extremely helpful, especially for newer runners of the game when they're just starting to learn stuff like that.
You'll see throughout a number of different strategies. Sometimes, and again, it's making use of game knowledge. Sometimes you might keep Phoebe on auto because you know she's going to thunder everybody. Or you might have to manual her because you know she's going to thunder everybody, and that's not what you want to have happen on a different fight. You might have to have her attack someone. You might have to pick her spell because maybe she'll use a solo spell instead of an all spell. All kinds of things like that. On top of already hoping that you don't get some sort of status effect. There's definitely a decent chunk going on here. You got to be able to remember what to do and do it all fast. And not everybody's going to do that at the same speed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
yeah,
from
go ahead. There are definitely specific formations that we know Phoebe is going to react a certain way, as Big alluded to. So, like, when they were in the Wintry Cave, when everything is the same monster, you know, hey, I can leave Phoebe on auto because she'll know to use fire on this or thunder on this. But Phoebe's AI does get a little screwed up sometimes, for sure.
Hey, don't worry, R didn't jump into a pit on accident. You do have to make a quick pit stop into that treasure room. The only way to do it is to fall. He will be back, don't worry.
It's a very important piece of equipment too.
Yes.
With that being the noble armor, which gives water resistance to Benjamin.
Right, and since we're in a water area, having water resistance seems like a really good idea.
And it'll be funny too, because with that resistance, it's not like he's like some kind of tank now. He still kind of sucks in that regard, but he would just be dying all the time if you weren't getting it. So, you have to get it. Yeah, so it might seem out of the way, but again, anything that they do pick up is one of those things where it's like, yes, you could get extremely lucky and just have not matter ever, but chances of that happening are just not particularly high.
I do specific item routes for the Wintry, not Wintry, Ice River as well. You'll see that when I also fall into the same room.
I have to give you credit, Fumo. If there's anybody who has planned out the run to like the minimal detail of even how many bombs you have, it's you.
And little things like that matter. It's definitely crazy. Don't never let anyone disrespect your Mystic Quest speedruns, y'all. It's just as cool as everything else. That's why it's on the relay with everything else. Alright? Alright.
So you'll notice that my consumable items inventory is actually a bit different. You'll see that because of the item flow which I did earlier, I have 2 slots with cure potions. And I just grabbed the heal potions. So now all of my item slots are filled. And this next chest I'm going to get is going to do some weird things to my inventory. That I'll explain a little bit later. For now...
Yeah, no worries.
And R just picked up the Night Sword, which also will give Benjamin a little bit of extra speed that we want him to have for the rest of the run.
We'll be coming up to our first split soon too, which is going to be the boss of this dungeon, which R is like 2 rooms away from. You just got to get through some Sphinxes first. They're pretty notorious for confusing your party and just having you sit there and lose a billion years. Let's see what happens. The riddle spell. Perfect. And then if you pay enough attention to some of the battles that Magus is going to be getting into, especially since he's still working his way through the pyramid, is like really minor differences in packs. Like you just killed 2 wizards before this 3 Lamia pack, and it could have been a 3 pack. It doesn't seem like super meaningful, but it's the difference between casting 1 spell and finishing the battle, or needing 2 actions to finish the battle. And again, if you have 20 battles in a row where you needed an extra turn, that kind of time definitely adds up. In the meantime, Ice Golem here can definitely be scary, both because he does a lot of damage, even with the normal armor, but more specifically, he's the boss that can actually outturn Phoebe if you're unlucky. And so if you're pushing the limits and suddenly you need a heal, you can get outturned and die still. And that's, no matter what else happens, that's just the only thing you really don't want to see, or else you can start that fight over.
Yeah, the most you can do is mitigate it by defending with Benjamin, so he can tank a turn. But even then, that's like the most desperate of decisions that we have to make if it ever turns sour like that.
Yeah, thankfully this game has an interesting defense mechanism, so if you defend with Ben or with your partner for the other person in the party, they will take the hit and the other person will not, even if it's an AoE attack. So, and it will not be double the damage like it usually is if the other person happens to be dead. It will only hit for the damage it would normally if it was hitting both of the party members at once, which is kind of nice, and it's a nice saving grace sometimes.
And you're seeing the boss has some healing you can do, so you really got to keep pushing the DPS. But it looks like R had a really smooth fight, actually. Like, I can't quite say that it was the fastest ever, but he did not have any issues that I could see. So, very nice on him. I know he's, R was pretty nervous about this run, so, whatever happens, of course, when this run's over, I'm sure he would appreciate a lot of love for being out here, which might be his first kind of marathon showing of any kind. Might not be, I'm not sure what his speedrun history is, but it probably is one of the more significant events for speedrunning for him.
Yeah, you also every time you defeat one of these elemental bosses for the area, you pick up coins, and the coins are basically used to open up the doors into the next area. And forgetting those coins is really quite an awful thing, because if you do forget it, you have to go all the way back in, and since Phoebe has already left you, that would be a solo walk back in, and yeah, it don't do it. It's not a good thing.
It's definitely your like progression check. The systems are pretty simple. Like there's this big tower in the center of the world or whatever, and there's a bunch of rooms with colored locked doors. And every time you get a coin, you can unlock the next door and enter the next place. And if you don't get the coin, then you don't get to progress. So it's definitely something you have to have happen. I wonder, I have no idea if anyone's ever forgotten the ice pyramid before, but it's definitely something that has happened to a lot of people in the Bone Dungeon.
Yeah, there's a couple of people who have forgotten the river coin for sure.
Yeah. About the next 2 coins, don't worry about it, because we're not going to be getting them the normal way.
Yeah, so if you're very familiar with this game, you just really love Fireburg, you love Rubin, like you just love everything about that area. I have some good or bad news for you. And if you don't like those things, then I have some really good news for you. I'll go ahead and save that. This might seem like a weird extra step to do 10 extra battles in a battlefield, but it rewards the exit spell, which is quite wonderful. So it is worth spending the few minutes here to do this. Again, it's a lot of luck involved. You gotta hope you run into a squid. Yeah, you gotta hope for one squid, or else you have to run and sit there for a while. But the exit spell is great, not just for exiting dungeons and being able not having to walk out. It actually works on enemies. And while you don't get experience and money from getting rid of an enemy that way, it's still really, really, really fast. So it's a nice way to go. Even though your Ice Golem looked pretty good, yeah? I think so.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Right?
Not only that, but once you're at a certain point of the game, there's a kind of a specific experience route that the runners will be trying to keep within, in terms of what levels they get to at certain points in the run. Just because some bosses are a little bit easier at certain levels, so that Ben doesn't completely get one shot, and especially for the end game area.
I think R had one Sphinx battle that I saw I had to run from, maybe more. You can be here a long time, so it's just one of those things. It's a great speed run to have no expectations for. It can definitely be a bit of a rough speed run when, let's say, perhaps your team's behind. But all you can do, of course, is play your best. I'm sure that's what Magus is up to right now. He's in serious mode. He's not even in the room with us because, I quote, he didn't want to hear my voice, which I can't blame him for. But yeah, he's in focus mode right now.
Well, you'll see that I grabbed the refreshers because I emptied that second cure potion slot, and now it's filled with the refresher slots, which is the specific arrangement of consumable items that you want for the upcoming Underflow glitch.
So, yeah, there's just like a number of things that are at play here, right? Like, there's going to be a big glitch that's going to occur very soon on our side, and then Fumo shortly after. But they're actually going to glitch their inventory in such a way that they get the next coin or coins without actually having to do the content. So they'll be skipping. They'll still be showing up to Fireburg right quick to do some last minute stuff. But all of the dungeons there, all of the bosses there, they're not going to do. The upside of that is incredibly obvious, right? You skip an entire area, that saves a lot of time. There's a downside though, you lose out on a lot of levels. You lose out on, I believe, the life spell. And And so there's definitely things that work to your disadvantage, but the time save is so immense that there's obviously no reason not to do it. So what you'll see on our side here is that you can buy 0 of an item for some strange reason. And so again, you buy the items in a very specific order, and then you use up your last seed, which is technically the first item you bought, so that you have an empty slot in there. And then you buy 0 seeds to replace that slot. Then you use your 0th seed to underflow the inventory, and you might have noticed that a bunch of items popped up in his inventory that he didn't actually get. After that, he buys 19 cure potions?
Yeah.
Cool. To kind of finish out the rest of that. And so this does 2 really, really major things. Like I said, one of the items you glitch into your inventory is the next coin, so you don't even have to do the area. But the other nice thing about it too is because you've underflowed, you now have essentially, you don't really have infinite seeds, but you have a lot of seeds. You'll never have to worry about magic recovery ever again.
Just to be specific, it's 255 seeds.
How's your battlefield going, Kuma?
I got 2 very good Sphinx battles that I didn't get surrounded by, or I didn't get ambushed with. So that's really good.
That might have been one of our first deaths there, outside of Behemoth. Ours died of the Mummy. Again, you're just trying to exit, but you will be outturned. The Mummy has a wide variety of ways to own you. And you don't have a good way to kill it. That's, again, one of the nice things about the exit spells. It just makes things go really fast. If and when it hits, which it will most of the time, that enemy is just gone. You don't get experience out of it, but at least the enemy's gone. You don't have to worry about it. Because if you had to try to kill that mummy in 2 or 3 rounds, like, forget about it. It'd be rough.
So what just happened on my side is, you'll notice that in my inventory, I do have a little bit of a weird key item configuration. I have the Thunder Rock, I have the Venus Key, and the Venus Key allows me to open the door there, the chest there, to get the Venus Shield. The Venus Shield is nice because it offers the same stat buffs as the previous shield, as well as the paralysis prevention or protection. And paralysis protection is pretty good for a few fights in the tree. So I think it's pretty nice to have.
Yeah, it's super arguable because technically, it takes some time to do and get. And the hope is that, RNG works in such a way that, like, you're getting status effects so much that it's going to save you time every time you would have gotten paralyzed and didn't. And so, but with so much RNG, everything becomes super debatable, right? And so it's of course runner's choice at that point in time. But being immune to paralysis can definitely be a major time saver. Or just hear me out. You can just get really lucky, forehead, right? So pick your poison, right? Pick your poison. All right, so that's all 3 runners past the first split. I didn't see anything major happen, so it seems like everything's pretty reasonable. I think things are probably always a little slower than we want them to be, but so far no one's getting super wrecked. I did see R die once or twice in the forest here. 3 packs in this place with Tristram are kind of a nightmare.
Indeed.
Tristram, as it turns out, even though he was a lot better than you in the beginning, he's not really all that better than you now.
Yeah, with the resistance glitch, you can like one-shot the ghosts, but not the mummy. So if you end up getting a mummy pack, it's a bit of an issue.
Indeed. You'll notice that with the Venus Shield routes, I do the force a little bit early, but I will go to Firework a little bit later.
Yeah, and it works out because, like, again, it's all about hitting triggers, right? So the big thing here is that you do get to the tree, and that you do get that next part of the story going. Otherwise, it's kind of like, and eventually you got to do the other stuff, but it's kind of whatever.
Thankfully, Tristram is only going to be with us for a really, really short amount of time.
yeah, I feel like the alive forest can feel like an eternity. But thankfully and objectively, yeah, he's not around very long. He's definitely kind of the worst one.
But yeah,
So I will be going back to Fireberg, and unlike the usual routes, I will be buying a different amount of cure potions to get a very specific item, the Gemini Crest. This is only gotten when you buy 32 cure potions. And there's a Gemini Crest warp point in Fireberg that takes you straight to Aquarium. So I can go straight to... I forgot his name. The Cove.
Spencer?
Spencer's, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I guess there's like a story in this game. There's characters.
Kind of, sort of, a little bit.
Yeah, so like this like weird old dude comes and like, hey man, you gotta save all the crystals and get all the coins or whatever. I don't even know. And then you're like, okay, shrug your shoulders, epic shoulder shrug, and you kind of go off to all the different areas and fix the land. And definitely some characters that help you along the way. You got this treasure hunter dude, you got this other treasure hunter dude. You have like forest girl. You have, I don't even know what Phoebe is, like badass, I guess. You got Ruben. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure he'll show up eventually. Quite an eclectic cast of characters. Aegis is still in the exit battlefield, so that pretty much tells me everything I need to know about how that's going. He and I feel like, are fairly similar. The only difference between he and I is he's actually good at games and I'm not, but like, I know we have very similar mindsets. I know he's probably pretty frustrated right now because he wants to make up a ton of time. But the whole world is conspiring against him, so...
Yeah, he's gotten a good amount of Sphinx encounters here.
Yeah, the fact that I looked away and he's still there is not a good sign. I've been there. There was a relay. I was a Mystic Quest runner, and I started behind, and then everything bad that could happen happened. And I wasn't able to catch up at all, and I was like, ah! But it's okay. It's all about the friends Magus is making along the way while he's by himself in his own voice chat room.
But you do get arguably one of the most interesting overworld items, which is the Dragon Claw. And the Dragon Claw is basically gonna serve as a grappling hook for one whole dungeon. Well, no, I guess that's not true. Yeah, there's a couple of other places, but...
Heavy use in one dungeon,
yeah.
For sure. And then it does have the added bonus, though, of increasing Benjamin's magic stats, so you do a little bit of magic damage with that equipped. So you'll see a lot of that stuff, too. It's like, oh, Ben needs to go fast, put the sword on. Ben needs to do damage, alright, put the claw on. Or, like, this thing's weaker to bombs than anything else he has, cool, use the bomb. The axe, we never actually upgrade, so we're not really going to see that too much, but
yeah,
everything else gets a lot of use.
And trees.
Yeah.
And the crab fights, which I opted to use, but it's only because axe is a weakness of snow crab.
Exactly right. They'll be so Argus picked up the arrow spell on his way. Now we'll be walking back. This time we have a real partner. Her name's Kaylee. She's cool to me in that, at least speedrun-wise, she's stronger than you both times you have her. So that's good stuff. And now you can move through the forest a lot easier than with Tristan. With double arrow, you're good to go. So again, like, things are going to get picked up and it might seem a little out of the way, but it's always going to be because you're going to make the next 30 battles faster. So, like, or more, depending on what it is. It's always worth it.
Add on to earlier about the Dragon Claw, you can definitely use it in battle too, as a physical attack, Benjamin. The nice thing about the Dragon Claw is that it can inflict the not only paralysis but also petrifying. and quite a few enemies are susceptible to petrify. And I personally am going to use that to my advantage, specifically in the tree, to get a little bit more of experience.
Yeah, the insta-death from Petrify on some of those monsters is really nice.
Alright. Magus immediately petrified.
I think all of our mummies have been pretty rough. I missed a lot of exits myself.
Yeah, ours is really bad too. I think he was like third or fourth try. So, Mummy's not having any of it. It's straight bully.
Just like now for me. That mummy with Kaylee just petrified my Chocomin.
Yeah, so there's a claw on our side. Very nice. You could use something else if you really wanted to, but why, first of all? You could argue animation time, but also he's got to have that claw on anyway, so why do anything? Nice surprise. So you'll see a lot of differences too. So I think the tree, nice instant kill with the claw there. I think the tree is just like a really, really incredibly clear showcase of what battle RNG looks like. The differences between 2 enemies and 3 enemies, and how long each one takes, how many of those 2 packs versus 3 packs you're getting, and what the time difference is there. And the messed up part about it all is the idea of all 2 packs sounds really nice. Wow, that's really nice. And it's also like, but the less enemies you fight, the less experience you get. And that can be
it's
troublesome
that
as
trade-off
well.
that is kind of dangerous if you get too many double enemies instead of triples.
Yeah, you basically want Ben to hit about 600 HP by the time you get to the boss at the top.
And so isn't that just like wildly messed up? Like you gotta sit there and be like, oh, I want to get lucky, but I don't want to get too lucky. In a game that overall I want to be really lucky in, just not too lucky in very specific points. It's like a weird line to straddle.
A lot of my decisions in this game are pretty much on that level. In the tree, because I really emphasize on experience, I definitely make use of the Dragon Claw a lot more than I do on other runners, just because I really like that experience.
And that's like a level of like depth that like you can take if you want. You don't have to. It's more about like what kind of consistency can you build in a game that doesn't have a whole lot, but you still have to stay on top of the things you can control. And those kinds of decisions being made can easily make the difference, even like between like a multiple minute difference in PBs, right? It really just depends. There's a lot that can go into this for sure. Or you can just like mash the entire time and turn your brain off, and you can still get, under 2 hours probably, so no big deal. It's all about what you want to do, you, the speedrunner. I assume everyone in this chat's gonna pick up the Mystic Quest speedrun because they're now gonna discover that there's a speedrun guide on GameFAQs.com written by Al Magus himself, where you can just learn the game by reading. And then I think next relay, I expect for there to be maybe 4,000 to 5,000 applicants for the spot. Because yeah, it's really easy to pick up. Very, very fun game. As long as I think I can't speak for any other runner besides myself. I know any amount of longevity I had with this game is just because all I ever did was race it. I never really ever did PV attempts. I think that did a lot for my sanity. But you can have long conversations with people like Fumo and El Magus about what the grind is like. I'm sure they'll be happy to talk about it.
Yep, I'm always happy to answer any questions about the speedrun, especially with the route I'm using.
Absolutely, I'm definitely washed up, so it's kind of a miracle I'm even here talking to everybody.
I'm glad to have you here.
Let's see here. Alright, so we're going to start Worm City for R. We're going to see how it goes. So there's really 3 distinct possibilities. There's 2 worms, there's 3 worms. There's 2 worms and a slime, or a blob, which is like the worst. Which is what R is immediately starting off with. So the nice use of the claw there. He's getting some decent claw luck for sure.
Yeah, there's 2 monsters in this game that have built-in auto-reflect, and that blob is one of them. And auto-reflect is not just like, it reflects it back to you for part of the damage, it basically reflects it full-on damage. Any magic
Yeah.
that you cast.
It is a pretty annoying thing to work around, especially with Kaylee's AI sometimes. Particularly when you face them for the first time. That's when I find that happens often with the AI. But yeah, that's just something that is a little annoying, but nothing too unreasonable to deal with.
Kaylee's AI is not as good as Phoebe's is most of the time. At least that's what I find personally. And a lot of the times I know most runners will keep her on manual if they can.
So Fumo's actually only one fight behind. This is a very tight race. Magus has been getting owned. So if you guys like Mystic Quest, just please like, donate, subscribe to El Magus for extending the run for you. He didn't have to do that, but he's a fan-centric streamer. So be sure to shout him out and give him some love for playing Mystic Quest as long as humanly possible. He's not here to defend himself either, so I'm probably just gonna keep saying stupid things like that as the run goes along. That's what he gets for not wanting to listen to me talk for 2 hours straight, I guess.
Well, you have me as a punching bag too, so it's all good.
Just make sure he doesn't watch the bot. He knows what he's getting into. Everybody knows what they're getting into if they put me on. But yeah, so a lot. Kazuzu, which is going to be not literally the next dungeon, but kind of the next major area, gets a lot of the quote-unquote love when it comes to RNG and losing time for no reason. But honestly, I think the tree is generally underrated. You can spend a long time here in every aspect of it, whether it's the encounters or Gidra the boss. What will help Fumo immensely is the fact that he's going to be immune to paralyze on his Benjamin. It's it's probably like the major reason to get it. It's not the only one, but it's definitely a massive deal. But our boys R and El Magus are going old school, and they are going to have to deal with the consequences, maybe.
The Aegis Shield definitely saved me on the Toad fight there.
For sure.
Because Kaylee got petrified in my fight.
Yeah, so like for anybody else that would spell doom unless you just got really lucky. But Aegis Shield like provides a whole lot of safety because you're gonna expect to get screwed over, right? It's only really gonna be slower on some sort of like actual god run, but otherwise it's pretty smart to get. And that's good routing by certain individuals. I know Fumo's had a huge fan on it. I think Claude did too.
Yeah.
And
Claude has been helping pioneer it. And I've pretty much taken the reins with Claude on the Aegis Shield route.
Yep, so shout outs to them for making it happen. Magus is just entering the tree here, so I'm sure he's hoping for a lot of easy packs right now.
Now that you've said something.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is, once upon a time, I was sitting here playing this game, and some people named El Magus and Genya23 were commentating during my run, and they just kept saying all these things that could happen, and it kept happening to me. So, you know, it's only right that I get to do the same thing. Genya, you wanna hop in here too, dude? You wanna start up? You wanna be player 4? I'm sure the relay team will be happy to have you on.
We miss you, Genya.
Everybody who speed runs this game gets screwed over. Don't worry about it. But I think everyone who's played the game a lot has at least one like very unique personal story for them about just like some crazy things that happen. Genya's definitely no exception. Neither is anybody playing the run right now. They're all wonderful people.
I definitely have a lot of stories like that myself.
Well, I know Vic came into one of my runs at one of my best moments, which was exiting out of Doom Castle.
Epic. You hate to see it, but you also love to see it. Harold Pigman's 4-minute Stone Golem was pretty dang epic.
I think Genya still has the record for most amount of Sphinxes on the exit battlefield of like 14. Something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Oh, so not only does Genya have the Soul Blazer bird dives, but also the Sphinxes too?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then there's the legendary leaderboard for amount of deaths to Zoo, of course. But we'll see if anyone gets added to that board later today. Hopefully not. But if it is someone, hopefully it's El Magus, because we want to stretch this out as long as possible.
Yep.
It's not because I dislike him. He and I are roommates, so it's not like that. But you know, it's for the fans. For the fans.
We'll find out why Zoo in particular is really, really dangerous.
Alright, but getting back to it, we're gonna slowly truck along here. There's really only a few encounters left for R and Fumo to get to Ghidra and see how that goes. I think you'll see they might have wildly different fights, but they'll be there soon. Maybe not quite as soon as I thought, but still soon enough. We're gonna see Magus get a fancy 3-worm fight. So even things like this have some time changes you can make, because you can kill 2 worms and then kill 1 worm round 2, or you can double arrow and kill all 3 worms in 1 turn. But they are all gonna outturn Benjamin. So if they just happen to kill Benjamin, then suddenly you're in 2-round territory again. But of course you do what you try to do the fastest thing that you can and hope it works out for you. If it does work out for you, clearly it pays off. And it doesn't, well, this is the kind of thing you have to do if you're really trying to go for the fastest time possible.
Good friend Genya23, he gets lucky with triple worm fights. So if Benjamin does end up outturning all of the worms here and casts his arrow, then we get what's known as Benjamin. Genuine worms.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it did not get here.
Fumo actually just passed R, so we have our first lead change. Yeah, R was definitely getting some pretty rough formations, and then yeah, just kind of. And then I know some encounters kind of worked out in Fumo's favor too. So again, there's a reason why the tree was kind of like a big deal, because there's so many encounters you can see something like that where it's like, did either dude make a mistake? Just a difference in time across 20 battles. It's like, well, I'm in the lead now.
But both Fumo and R are rounding the last floor before the top, so they are only 3-4 encounters away from Ghidra.
I haven't seen all of Magus's worm encounters, but a lot of them. It's been great.
Last fight before Ghidra.
When it rains, it pours. You hate to see it, but this is all the floor 6 manip for El Magus.
A little unfortunate luck there.
Yeah. So that's one of those things too, like, you know, you could take it a little safer if you wanted to, but it's never going to be the fastest way it's going to happen. You just got to roll the dice, and unfortunately for Fumo, it just didn't work out. But interestingly enough, our 0109 didn't have the easiest time, so it looks like he'll be getting through it, so we actually are seeing a lead change again.
It all comes down to Ghidra at this point.
It literally is coming down to Ghidra, as both of you are not synced, but you are basically in the same place. So let's take a look at these two Ghidra fights. Your first job, of course, is to get rid of the ads as fast as possible, and then you can focus down Ghidra. Ghidra is actually quote-unquote easy to beat down with a bunch of arrows, but a lot of things can not go your way, like Profumo right now getting confused and losing out on some Benjamin action there. Not great. And getting quaked, so that's not great either.
Although I do get paralysis protection, so whenever Ghidra does choose to paralyze Benjamin, I do get a free turn of damage in there.
But you can definitely see the amount of damage Arrow does. So right now, R doesn't have that paralyzed protection, but so far Ghidra has only tried to paralyze Kaylee, so it hasn't become relevant so far. Whereas Fumo said, if his Ben gets paralyzed or attempted to get paralyzed, nothing will even happen. A little unfortunate there for R. The decision made just didn't work out, but he's close to getting Ghidra right here. Where I have Fumo's stream kind of frozen on me. It looks like Benjamin got petrified, but his should also be almost dead. Wow, they died almost damn near the same time. This is pretty wild, actually.
That was really close.
Moon Kid. Pretty wildly good Ghidras. I mean, a dead Ghidra's a good Ghidra, but man, like that was like Fumo's was a little iffy, but he made it there, and then ours was just like totally fine. Aegis is, of course, counter number 800,000 at the tree, so he's looking through.
So we're working our way back in the tree to get a specific spell, Meteor. The nice thing about clearing Ghidra is that all the encounters from the tree are now wiped out. So it gives us pretty much free pass to the Meteor spell.
Exactly right. They could have gotten it before if they wanted to, but there'd be encounters in the way, and that's obviously just a waste of time.
Interesting thing about Meteor is that it's Earth Elemental. So it's not like any other Final Fantasy games where Meteor doesn't usually have an element. So some enemies will be resistant to Meteor as a result of that.
An interesting decision for sure, but as long as you know that's what it's all about, then you'll be alright. I don't think we mentioned it, but they also didn't do the things you need to do to clear out the sky. So, but I mean, like, the overworld is not free exploration, you're actually just literally on a track. And so if you just know, oh, I hit right, then I hit right, then I hit up, or whatever, like, you can navigate the thing, no problem. Otherwise they're gonna hit Windia. Or am I thinking of like Breath of Fire or something?
No, you're good.
And then there's a nice teleporter here. You could, to get these bombs here, you can get these earlier, but there's really just no need. These bombs.
Yeah, what I did
they do
for my
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I did for my side is I had to fix my inventory because I still had the Thunder Rock. And I didn't have the Mobius Crest, so I went in and bought 31 cure potions. And that pretty much fixed my inventory for me.
Yeah, basically the deal is if you have the Thunder Rock in your inventory, you're kind of soft-locked with it, because Kaylee won't really... It's that Kaylee won't leave your party, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so suffice to say, there are some sensitive aspects to the glitching. There's not a whole lot of takesies backsies with your inventory. There's some, but not a whole lot. And then, yeah, as far as game progression is concerned, you can own yourself by doing things in the wrong order or having the wrong item or blah, blah, blah. Meteor is a particularly nice spell, just because it just packs a slight extra punch for the battles here. You won't see Meteor a ton, but right now it's the explicit way to make sure you're going to get through these encounters this round. The big thing about Meteor is there's like 3 types of magic in this game: white magic, black magic, and I guess wizard magic or whatever. Those are the last of which are your strongest spells, but you have the least amount of charges of. So you do have to be careful and know that you'll have 2, maybe depending on your level, 3 casts of it before you need to refill.
Every 4 levels, Benjamin gets an extra wizard spell charge. So this is about level 16. I get 4 wizard spell charges. The next level is level 20. So I'm gonna hope we can get to level 20.
My bad, it was 3 or 4 then. Whoopsie.
This also starts to become kind of a super heavy RNG point in the run, because a lot of the bosses from this point on have the Doom Dance spell. And since Ben does not have the life spell, if it happens to land on your partner, well, have fun.
Yeah. Indeed. Like, we even see it with Skulders here. They do have instant death attack called Doom Dance. That's a lower hit chance, but it does hurt when it hits.
Okay, Magus is on his last encounter before Gidra. And then R and Fumo will be getting towards Dillahan after 1 encounter. And so we'll continue the streak of mostly straightforward bosses as far as like, what should I do? But based on what Dillahan's gonna do, well, might change things up, or you might just lose. But Magus is going to start up Gidra. He does not have the Venus Shield, so Paralyze will be a big deal. Paralyze was thrown out turn 1, but was put on Kaylee, so no big deal. In the meantime, R and Fumo, again, as always, you're going to get rid of the ads ASAP. Focus on the boss. Dillahan can pump out a lot of damage. Goodbye, Benjamin. You'll see that he is opting to kill the ads before dealing with Ben, and then you can auto that next turn for quicker inputs or less inputs. And then Ben's just gonna die again because he sucks. So there's a nice Petrify on Benjamin for Magus. Nothing you can do, there's no protection there. You just have to unfortunately lose your turn. You just can't do any damage. So again, just one of those things that slows you down.
Yeah, unfortunately, Petrify is not one of the resistances your partner gets either.
Yeah, it's forever a danger on top of instant death. So Magus did get paralyzed. So again, it's kind of the same deal. We should expect these runs, as far as the estimate, to be somewhere around 2 hours. Every one of these guys' PB are less than 2 hours. But with the way marathon runs go, it's very, very possible that these go to 205, even like 210 if things are like real bad. But yeah, so about 2 hours, give or take. Handful of minutes. R is kind of stable, and Fumo's is kind of a little too low for comfort. Yeah. Oh, and then you get Doom Dance late in the fight, and you just lose minutes. So that's it. Magus he just finished up, but he definitely got a lot of status effects there. Honestly, more Petrifies than there were Paralyzes. So even the Venus Shield wouldn't have like super saved him there, but it obviously would have saved him 1 turn. Otherwise,
what happened there is like I used Heal as an offense spell to have a small chance of inflicting paralysis on Dillahan. I did get a few of it off, but fortunately, Doom Dance happened.
Yeah, when you use the heal spell on your enemies, it has a chance to kind of do a random status effect on them. If it does anything, it will.
Oh no! Doom Dance on Kaylee hit. Ben doesn't survive. Oh, Annie's asleep. Annie's doing. Oh no!
Ooh, that is unfortunate.
Double Dillahan death. Yo, alliteration.
This is a real race, for sure.
I also want to point out to the chat that the horse is also headless, in case you never noticed it.
Ooh, see this if you're gonna see something like this, this is the exact way it should happen. Both guys in the lead should just die like 3 more times, and then Magus can catch up, and then we got a race, like a 3-way race on our hands. So get on it, fellas. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. Do your best.
Well, Magus is definitely making up some time here, which is good. But, of course, we haven't hit the tower just yet.
Hadoomerang. That's right. Best ability. You gotta have a general strategy. Ben's gonna spam meteors, but you will have to siege yourself in battle. Kaylee, it's like you can bust out some arrows or heals depending on what you want to do. Or she's gonna be your heal bot, and you're just kind of hoping you don't get crit too hard. Or anything like that. Or Doom Danced, of course, as we already saw. So it looks like Fumo got through. And, R was deeper into his fight before he died, so he's definitely behind now. But this fight wasn't super great either.
So Fumo is entering Pazuzu's tower, which is definitely one of the biggest sources of RNG for this run. So the idea is that as you're climbing the tower, Pazuzu is essentially on pretty much every floor except for the roof until you speak to him. Once you speak to him, he moves to a random floor that is not the roof and not the floor that you spoke to him on. So since the runners will be speaking to Pazuzu on floor 3, Pazuzu can appear on 6, 5, 4, 2, or 1. 2 being the worst, 6 being the best.
And it's not like, oh no, I got the worst floor, I'm behind 2 minutes. The difference in between the best and worst is insane. Like, it's like actually kind of unbelievable. Yeah, so like it's really sad actually, because like you just lose an incredible amount of minutes just for getting floor 2.
It's like 10 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, I believe so. So the question is, why is 2 the worst? Or like, I guess the kind of follow-up question is like, what makes certain floors different from others? So, as RPGC already said, when you talk to him on floor 3, he'll end up on one of the other floors. And what makes those floors different from each other is the amount of switches you're going to have to hit before you talk to Pazuzu again, and thus the amount of battles you're going to have to fight. So the big gimmick is he'll teleport floors, and then you have to kind of block his access to other floors, or else he'll just keep teleporting to other floors. And so when he's on floor 6, you just hit the switch to block floor 6, and then you just fight him. So that's easy. When he's on floor 2, you have to block his access from floor 6. Of course, you always do that, but from all the other floors as well, and it just takes forever to do that. If you have floors 4, 5, or 1, I'm not going to go into the deep specifics here, but the idea is that there's just less switches you have to hit to block his access, and thus there's less fights you have to do, and thus it takes less time to get to him. So the big deal about floor 6 is you literally just walk up to him. It's up. And any other floor, you're doing at least 1 extra floor of fights and switch hitting, and so you can expect that the more floors you have to visit, the more fights you have to battle, the more time it takes.
Yeah, not only that, but when you find him on an even-numbered floor, he will go to an odd-numbered floor. So, like, if you find him on floor 4, he's going to go up to floor 5 before you can even fight him, which is another reason you want to lock the switch from between 4 and 3, so he doesn't go down, he ends up going up, and it's a little bit quicker to get to him. And even if you find him on floor 2, you still have to go through all of the switch hitting, speaking to him, and getting him to back to floor 3 before you can even fight him. So yeah, it's a lot of roundabout extra fights and stuff.
There's a little neat trick you can do if you do get floor 2. You can jump from floor 2 back to floor 1. Because there's a weird property with the stairs that if you're like 1 tile away from a jump, you can just jump straight on stairs. So it's a nice way to skip a few battles. That's if one of us gets floor 2.
And so ultimately what you have, you still have all of the same amount of variation. Like there's a lot of battles, there's a lot of different packs. Certain packs are terrible. Magus just got his Kaylee Doom Dance, so he's gonna have to restart this battle. He was only about 4 turns in, but obviously you hate to see it. You get these Manticores that can super troll you, right? There's all other fights can just take a while. You can get unlucky with turn order. Like, so you have all of those things adding up. Then you have Kazuzu's RNG. You can have a wild swing in here. PB-wise, if you don't get the correct floor that you need, there's a good chance you're not PBing. Race-wise, it's like, there's a big jump, then it can be hard to deal with for sure.
Yeah, the Beholders here are the other monster that has the auto reflect built in, so you're not going to see them using any magic on these the same way they didn't use them on the Oozes, and the same way that the Oozes could appear in other monster packs in the tree. The Beholders have a really nasty tendency to do the same thing.
These Beholders always typically blind their first turn, so it just makes the fights extremely predictable. Just acid bomb your way through, and the important thing there is Kaylee will always heal herself if you leave it on auto, which on the old school route is good because she'll use up their heal potions, and then you start using her heal spell. I'm not sure if that applies to the nose route or not.
Yep, it does. It's the route stabilized by the time we hit India, because I reset the inventory during the first visit.
Gotcha, that makes sense. So Magus is working through okay now. So there's really 2 components to Dullahan, right? It's like, are you going fast or slow, and then did he Doom Dance you or not, successfully or not? And so right now, thankfully, his Kaylee's still alive. That was a Doom Dance miss. He's really only a few turns away from winning. So ideally, he should be in the clear, but we'll see. As Fumo and R enter the Hellway, at least Fumo has.
Yep, and I've already gotten a good start.
Oh yeah. so this is called the Hellway. There's three Manticore packs, and as you can see, they can just petrify you, and hey, you get to start again. Yeah, they're just kind of a pain in the butt. Magus does make it through, but it sucks that he died because obviously we wanted him to make up more time. But you never know how Kazuzu is going to go. We are not close yet to figuring out floors, but they are working their way there. Right now, R just entered the Hellway, so it looks like R is about 1 encounter behind. And Magus will be starting the tower here, so not too far back. But everybody, shoot, what is it? You get PogChamps for floor 6 and Baby Rages for any other floor. I just want to make sure I throw that out there.
Yep.
Want to throw that out there just so everyone's ready. It's not time yet, but just laying the foundation. You get PogChamps ready for floor 6 and Baby Rages ready for anything else.
But yeah, basically the runners are going up the odd-numbered floors, and they're going to be going down. They're going to be going down 1 floor at a time to find out where the bird is. So they still have to go up to the roof and around to the other side of the tower before we start looking for the bird. Also, the runners did pick up a charm necklace back in Windia along with the mega grenades, and the charm necklace is really nice for the beholder fights, especially because it does have blind protection for Benjamin on it.
It also has confusion protection.
Ah, yes, I forgot about that one. Thank you.
It does help with soldier fights because
So
they
now-
can confuse confusion.
Yeah.
It is nice that you can start to build some protections as the late game kind of comes on, for sure. Never from everything, but well, I shouldn't say never. You could protect yourself from basically everything by the end, but I don't think that's going to happen. So there was a comment about undead enemies, so it's a good time to revisit the life spell. Even though it works explicitly the way it's supposed to on your own people, as in someone's dead and it brings them back to life, it actually works as kind of a zombification spell on enemies. And so enemies that are weak against that, you can use life on them, like the Manticores, like the Wizards, like the Minotaur in the beginning. The trade-off is you do not get to use it on undead enemies that you would, like skeleton bosses, Skullrus and Flamosaurus, Flamerus, excuse me, and things like that. So it's always a trade-off. It gets fixed in the J version, so you can you can life certain bosses in the J version, but you can't life Manticores in the J version, for example. So those fights are real fun. And just little things like that.
One important note is that when you use white magic spells as charges offensively, it has a chance of missing because the accuracy is dependent on the caster's accuracy.
Yes, that's right. So life can miss, exit can miss. You're using cure, so things were kind of very chaotic in the beginning. So even for Flamerus Rex, you actually use cure on the enemy. On the boss as your main DPS from Benjamin, who really doesn't have much else. You can just miss those cure spells and just use that on all that damage.
They're going to be making another really nice pickup, though, once we are on to floor 6, and we'll be picking up the Flare spell, which will be really helpful for the rest of the game. There's also technically one other shield that can be picked up in the last castle, and I don't know which of our runners are actually going to pick it up, but usually Megas, I know, does not. Okay, so you're not going to do it either. But basically, the Aegis Shield will provide petrified protection for the end dungeon.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the first, at least that I'm familiar with, strats where it's safety versus get lucky for head, right? And that was probably one of the first, if not the first, concessions to be made for time in the route, especially when I came along in 2014 or something like that, where it was just like, well, you could spend a minute getting this shield and it's really nice because Petrify is something that happens a lot. Or you could not spend a minute getting the shield and just hope you don't get petrified. Because in fairness, you'd have to be petrified multiple times for you to lose all that time, but it definitely happens. Both cases definitely happen.
If you're first learning the run, definitely pick up the Aegis Shield just to get a feel for it.
Yeah, it does make a lot of those floors easier.
There's a little interesting glitch I'm going to show off soon. You'll notice I have 0 bombs, but it's not really a detriment to me, because I can actually skip the animation of throwing the bomb while the overworld effect still takes effect. Or still takes place.
Yeah, 0
so you
bomb
see me
glitch
just
is
bombing
fun.
the bomb. Yeah, it's very fun.
Especially if you're doing the 100%, then it's a lot of fun.
You just get to see obstacles disappear before your eyes, which is the really nice thing about 0 bomb glitch.
I feel like I've never seen that before. That's hilarious. Alright, so... Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Fumo routes it specifically that way, yeah?
Yeah, I try my best. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
You never quite know literally how many bombs you're going to use, but yeah, for sure, you can definitely do things to try to make it happen. We're going to get to the moment of truth here for Fumo. He's going to hit this switch, walk a couple steps up, and we see no Kazuzu there, so I want to see those baby rages in chat. That's good news for Almagus, maybe, though, because maybe he can get floor 6, but for Fumo now... now it's a quest to see what floor is Kazuzu on, and then what switches does he have to hit, which they kind of go together. You're gonna work on that as you move along.
Yeah, and R is on his last fight right before we get to find out what his fate is as well. So.
Let's see. So Fumo, timely, right? We didn't talk about it very long ago. Life just missed. All right, R, what do we got? Little heal, keep the suspense, hit the switch, and baby rage again. Okay. So Magus is our last floor 6 hope.
If Negus does end up getting floor 6 here, that's going to be quite a large catch-up.
Absolutely. So no floor 5 for Fumo, which can be a little concerning.
So 1 would be the next best option, and is the second fastest floor after 6.
Yeah, there's a weird quirk with this, where when you have a floor 1 Pazuzu, you go to hit the switch on floor 2, and then you're able to just exit out of the tower, and thankfully when you go back in, the switches are still hit. So you can just waltz right up to him on the first floor and just kick his butt.
Say hello.
Ooh, 4-5 for R, so what is that, like third best?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, it's third best, it could be better, it could have been floor 1, but when you don't see him on floor 5 like what happened with Fumo, then you start to think about, well, shoot, hope you know, where is he at then, right? Sometimes it's kind of at least a little calming to know where he is early on, so you can be like, okay, well, floor 5 is what it is.
For me right now.
Yeah, but for Fumo, where it's still up in the air, it's just like, well, hopefully it's not that one floor. So this is where things get really stressful, because 50% shot now, he's either floor 1, which is the second best option, or he's floor 2, which is the 1000% the worst option, and everything else has been eliminated now. So it's like, oh boy, yeah, you just pray for Fumo. Pray for Fumo. No floor 2.
All fingers and toes crossed at this point.
Tentacles for some monsters too. Oops.
But yeah, with Pazuzu on floor 5 for R, he's gonna have to go down to floor 4 to hit the switch regardless, again, because we don't want him to teleport in any other direction, and he'll stay on floor 5. However, it does mean that he is gonna have to go back up and around on the roof back to floor 5 afterwards.
Oh, we're so close! I'm stressed out, I'm not even playing. Oh, thank God, dude.
Oh, goodness.
So, blank spot in floor 2 means floor 1, so he's gonna hit the switch, exit on out of there, as RPGC said, and start heading to the boss. So that actually worked out nicely. He will, everything else considered equal, which of course you can't really do in this game, it will end up ahead of our 0109. I mean, he's already ahead, but probably will stay there, at least for now. Aegis is about to get Flare, and then he'll see that first step of Kazuzu's floor as well. So things are real interesting, y'all.
Yeah, getting a wide variety of floors like this is nice.
Yeah, you definitely want Magus to make up some time here. So floor 6 would be sick. Floor 1 would be also sick, and then from there it's like, well, hopefully just not floor 2, and then we'll live. Flare is just a really excellent and strong spell, so you'll start to see a difference in strategy. Now it's going to be more about Benjamin throwing out a lot of damage as well. And Fumo's starting up on Pazuzu, so there's he can Doom Dance, so let's just get that out of the way. But then he's also got his Psych Shield every, 4 turns?
I think it's 5 turns and then 4 turns.
Maybe it's 4 turns for Zoo. Anyway, yeah, so it's not random. It's not random, so you just have to kind of keep track of your turns. I'm going to pause for Magus here. Floor 6!
Oh! We have a race! We have a race!
No way, dude!
This is getting exciting.
Get those pogs in fat.
He's at least gonna pass up our 0109, and depending on how the fight goes for Fumo, who knows, man. Oh my god! This is wild! I'm dying here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so if you just pay attention to his turns, you're not gonna Psych Shield yourself. So from there, it's just paying attention to that, getting your damage in as much as possible, trying not to get trolled with damage rolls, and just hope you don't get Doom Dance. But it's just one of those things where, like, if you're not pushing the DPS, this fight can really, really slow down to a crawl. You can spend a long time here. In fact, I believe
has like the most HP, if I'm not mistaken, out of the regular bosses.
25,000 HP.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. Even my PB has a floor 6, but like the slowest Kazuzu of all time. So like it didn't even matter. It was rough. So it's so like even then it's like, oh, you got floor 6. That's still only half the battle because the boss fight has to go well too. Fumo's about to finish up though.
And the only bad thing with the Psych Shield is you have to be a little bit careful of Kaylee sometimes, because sometimes she will outspeed Kazuzu on the Psych Shield takedown. So you do have to be a little bit mindful of that.
Yeah, you'll see some amount of runners for sure just off to attack with her just in case she outturns the boss. It'll do less damage, but better than her arrowing herself in the face. And looks like R is starting Kazuzu, so one runner just finished Kazuzu, one runner in the middle of it, one runner starting it. I can scarcely believe it, y'all. I was praying for Magus' floor 6. We got it. Kaylee's immediately petrified. Great start for R0109.
Oh, no,
double petrified. So now we have to pull for R0109. He's last. You want to see him not get screwed over anymore here. And then Aegis should be okay. Yeah. Usually, Kaylee, your partner dying in a boss fight's usually like, well, you're done. But when you see Kazuzu in his almost dead animation, you go for it.
Yeah, most of the runners will keep track of the HP, so they kind of know when they can YOLO at the end or not. I'm almost sad Megas isn't in here so that we could have heard that reaction.
I know. I can't freaking believe it, dude.
You have to look at this though. How many times has Goose now world recorded during races?
That's true.
This has potential too, actually.
He's done it, I think, at least 2 times, so crazy. Now, y'all, there's a lot of game left. It may not feel that way, but you know, we've been like going dungeon by dungeon, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, there's this whole entire tree where stuff's crazy, you know. And then you go to Doom Castle, which they're not going to quite yet. They got one other place to go to, the ship that Fumo's at. But you go to Doom Castle, and like every floor of Doom Castle is like that. It's like, well, you could get screwed here. You can get screwed on every single floor. So it's one of those things. I'm not so sure he's on record pace, but he's on a very, very good pace. Like, definitely a pace you'd like to see on a race for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when your team was behind, so... Like, he's still on track to get, like, a sub-2 marathon run, which is not something that happens often. And, like, a strong sub-2, not like a 159 or anything like that.
So, if Fumo's inventory was back to the normal, we did do one more inventory glitch to put the Thunder Rock back into the key item spaces, so that the second Rainbow Bridge can be constructed, and you don't have to go all the way back to Fireburg or bother rescuing Ruben's dad to do so.
That's right. Yeah, he did do it. Everybody's on the same kind of playing field now. You'll see them do pretty much the same things at this point. So again, the ship is, nothing's free in this game, but like you're very much in here. Just okay, there's a handful of encounters, and you don't even really think about it. You just try to hope it works out, and then
you want double formations here, except for this one.
And then you kind of it's kind of just like the purgatory before. The final dungeon.
Yeah, this is the only time in the any percent run you actually get to use Ruben.
And he does pretty well because he has the white spell, which is the only non-elemental wizard spell.
It's definitely a lot better than the no actual attack magic he has the first time you get him.
Yeah. Because we're far beyond the spot too, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna melee everything down one by one, right? The whole point for a long time now has been, how do I kill all 3 enemies at the same time? So thankfully he comes equipped to do that with you. So it's been brought up in chat a number of times, I think, as far as the music in this game. Like, no matter what anyone thinks of the game, it's like everyone agrees the soundtrack's incredible. I think for many, the highlight is Doom Castle. Very, very good song. We'll be spending our time in there shortly. Should be fun. And we're kind of in the same boat. Fumo has kind of finished all the cutscenes, most of them. Before Doom Castle, Magus is just finishing up the ship. R0109 is just starting the ship. So we're all pretty close. I think it'll definitely take some shenanigans in Doom Castle for R0109 to take the lead, but there's definitely enough possible shenanigans in Doom Castle to see that happen. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, it's not over yet.
It's definitely not over yet. And
we haven't hit the penultimate jerkbird just yet.
I can't say I've witnessed every single Mystic Quest race that there's ever been, but I know for me personally, I don't think I've really witnessed a race where everyone was this close. Like, this is pretty wild. You can be pretty close for a long time, but usually that Kazuzu's tower is like, oh boy. But
it's pretty much an equalizer for the most part.
But it can be, right? It doesn't have to be. You know, Magus could have gotten floor 2, and then it would have just been like, but that he got 6, you know, when he very needed it, it was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice.
Mistake on my part.
Yeah, there's a question about the resistance glitch. We haven't talked about it in a long time. So basically, every companion you get has their own set of stats and resistances that they get. You know, nice self-destruct death. So obviously, it should make sense that Phoebe 2, as we usually refer it to, is kind of like your strongest one. And so what you do is have a save file at least once. Anecdotal experience shows that like sometimes it's just one file, sometimes you need it on 2 files, sometimes you need it on 3 files. It's just weird like that. You load up your game and then you reset it, and then you start up your new game. And what it does is it doesn't transfer everything over, but you do get the resistances of Phoebe 2 on every single partner that you get, as well as some extra speed as well. So it definitely helps to make everything before Phoebe 2 a lot more consistent. As consistent as this game can be, which is not very consistent. But nice Skalrus fight from Fumo. Just got the direct life off. He got a little bit trolled on the way, but the boss fight was fine.
So you can use exit or life on that boss. Basically, the boss flag wasn't really turned on properly.
Yep, that's how we were able to exit and life. And this applies to the next boss, the Stone Golem, as well. Although we can't use life on only exit.
It does make the first 2 floors a little bit easier, though, to know that you can just phase them off into oblivion.
Alright, so you're kind of seeing Doom Castle is essentially just kind of like a big refights, Mega Man refight sort of area. So every new floor of Doom Castle is basically like a revisit of that big dungeon, Bone Dungeon, Ice Pyramid, the volcano, which we never totally went through, and then Kazuzu's Tower. They all kind of have their weird puzzles, so you have to navigate the quicksand and support. On the previous floor, here you have to navigate make sure you hit all these switches. And on the next floor, it's kind of like a jumping puzzle. And the floor after that's kind of like a bit of a maze. These first 2 floors, I would argue, are like pretty straightforward. Obviously, you have to learn what to do, but for the most part, you don't get too trolled. And then the next 2, especially the last ones, can be a lot.
Yeah, each of the floors takes like a gimmick from the earlier crystal dungeons, like the quicksand, the switches, and pretty much the pillars of lava.
So you'll see R0109 kind of hug the left wall on this quicksand to make it. You can just take the quicksand, a different part of the quicksand, just all the way down and grab the Aegis Shield. We talked about it before. It's really nice petrification prevention, but it just takes a really long time to get because you have to go take the quicksand and get it, then you have to walk all the way around again and then take the quicksand to the boss. So it's just, you just gotta hope you get lucky versus taking the time to do that. Now, obviously, you're playing the game, you don't really have a lot of expectations, do whatever you want, but if it's at the highest levels, and especially in a race, it's just not something you're going to do.
There's also an encounter that you need to fight before Venus Shield, not Venus Shield, Aegis Shield as well.
That's right, yeah. So you have to have that extra time as well.
If you're doing it in a marathon, though, it is a nice safety to have.
Jumping is, the question is jump automatic or is it possible to fall? It's definitely not automatic. You press the button, you can definitely fall. And for any jumping fans out there, unfortunately jumping is slower than walking, so you will not see it unless they have to. Here we'll start up on Stone Golem. Thankfully, it's not, in theory, a terrible fight.
Unfortunately, I got bad luck.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there it is. It can't. I was gonna say it can be a terrible fight, and then it immediately happened for Fumo. Because normally it's very much like that Skullrus fight. It's like you can exit the dude, and like, okay, bye, and then finish off the fight. But that first round is incredibly important, and as you can see, you can get owned. And even if Fumo makes it through this, you can see obviously this is not fast. He's dead anyway.
This is brutal.
I did a mistake there, but my exit spell missed anyways.
I believe pre-Doom Castle, the question is how close the Magus is to PB. I think chat had decided that he was already 4-ish minutes off of his PB, so that's not going to happen, but he's on a really nice pace. Except he also is getting destroyed by Stone Golem. So Stone Golem is incredible because, like, I don't know, 7, 8 times out of 10, you just kill him. And then the other times, you're just stuck in the loop forever, like Fumo and maybe Magus will be too. Magus finally at least gets an exit off, so he's looking good. Phoebe's confused. Not great. He
Yeah, unfortunately, if your character has a status ailment, the defense mechanism doesn't really work.
Okay, so since Magus' Stone Golem was less terrible than Fumo's, he's now in the lead. That's hilarious. RL109 still working his way through, so we'll see how his goes. But he's trucking. Both the other gentlemen will enter the volcano area, where you just kind of have to know the path. It's like a weird jumping block maze, but I say maze very loosely, just because you know where to jump, it's not a big deal. They're going to fight a handful of encounters, and then they're going to fight the old Wyvern, and that's a fight that is definitely not a 2-round fight or a 1-round fight like the other two, but it's definitely still a fight that can go really fast, and then when it doesn't go really fast, you die, or you're there forever, or you die 5 times in a row. It's just one of those things. He can crit and kill Phoebe in 1 turn, and then when that happens, it's like, well, that's probably his biggest troll. But
yeah, unfortunately, one of the biggest resistances that we don't get, and mostly because the gun doesn't bother going to that area, is fire resistance.
That's right. So we got You got full throttle here. You just get full power.
There is a chest on Gale Mountain, the Hollow Helm, which does endow fire resistance. Because it's an upgrade with the helmet you get in the Lava Dome.
Oh my god, I totally missed our Stone Golem fight, which tells me it probably was good.
Which is good, because it's given him a chance to catch up, so...
Mm-hmm. You definitely have more of a chance if you... Yeah, so we did talk about it before, about the ups and downs of skipping the volcano. You know, you're much lower level, you don't have the life spell. But god, that segment is so freaking long, like, it's like, dude. And even then, like, you know, there's no guarantees that Ben survives, outturns, whatever, but, like, yeah, having another person with a life spell is very significant. Any percent will never look like that. So it's one of the nicer things that can come out of the 100% category of this game. It's longer, obviously, so if that doesn't sound good to you, then that's not good, but definitely in some ways it's safer because you got more resources. So Magus actually dies to a long encounter, which puts Fumo back in the lead. He'll be starting the twin head fight first, and R is just going to be trucking along still.
So one of the bigger differences with the refights is that now they have side monsters that you have to get rid of before you can even start to focus on the boss. But I think these bosses, I don't know if all of them do, but some of them have lower amounts of HP than their original. I do know that Zoo has less HP than Kazuzu did, for sure.
Yeah, for sure for Zoo.
Yeah, so you can just kind of see, like, this boss, especially with the abs, you just pump out a lot of damage. Now, we pump out a lot of damage too, so you're kind of in this big DPS race, where hopefully your healing works out okay, and just hopefully PB doesn't get one shot. You know, and it's just one of those things, like, usually the fight's straightforward unless PB gets one shot. Sometimes you can get a little slow based on damage roll. I never really like hearing those reactions from Fumo. I'm obviously a little bit behind, but yeah, that's going to be an interesting situation for sure. Oh!
Yeah, that is what happened.
Okay, so that puts our 0109 right on the same spot as Fumo since he took a dive. Magus's fight's going okay. PB's kind of low, but the boss is probably going to die. He might even die at this hit right here. Yeah, so Magus back in the lead here. And Fumo and Fumo and DDR. Yeah, good one. Fumo and RO109 are pretty much neck and neck here. This is the craziest race I've ever seen in my life.
Well, we still got Zoo coming up, and I will say the mob encounters that you get on the way to Zoo can also be pretty brutal sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's definitely still not over. That's like, it's both good for the race and kind of sad that, like, as they progress through Doom Tower, really the floors just gets worse and worse and worse, like RNG-wise. And so, yeah, you really just never know what the heck's gonna happen.
Yeah, and the thing with this floor, aside from being a maze, there's two different types of flooring that you can see. There's flooring with a straight edge and flooring with a kind of a curlier edge. So if you're on the higher level, which is the one with the curlier edge, you actually cannot fall off. But if you're on the bottom path with the straight edge, you can fall back to the previous floor, which will be good after the Zoo fight, not so much beforehand.
So I think Fumo made it through. Yeah.
It was close though.
Yeah. R0109 is kind of on the struggle bus right now. They did start the fight at roughly the same time. I think R0109 is going to need one more round. And that's if he doesn't heal. Which he did. So this will, I think, take another round.
Rough start for me.
Yeah, like I said, the floors mobs can be pretty brutal on this floor.
Yeah, this is a huge deal in terms of where that Aegis Shield kicks in too, because you can get petrified a whole heck of a lot here, and it's nice to have that that protection. But again, there's definitely a significant time cost to getting it that you might make back up. You know, like Fumo's DB is petrified in his current battle right now, and thankfully it didn't alter the outcome of the battle, but it could have. It could have, you know, that could have cost him time. Thankfully it didn't, so he'll be trucking through. As well everybody else. So we're all within, what, like 3 encounters, so that's pretty good.
You still have Zoo. Don't forget.
Yeah. We'll get there when we get there. Aegis dies again. Haha.
Basically, the runners are just gonna kind of work their way towards the center of this. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, and like, every single encounter trolls. Petrify, confuses, like all that good stuff. It can be really hard to get through here.
And not only that, but you do have to switch between Flare and Meteor a lot. The chimeras that Magus is fighting right now actually have fire resistance, so the Flare spell does not work very well on them. And if you do use Flare instead of Meteor, you end up taking an extra turn.
Yeah, the encounter with the Chimera, I think it's Chimera, the Dolahan, and Cerberus. It's one of the most difficult ones in the game.
Yeah, for sure. That one, and you also have to use the Meteor on the double Chimera, and then whatever else it comes with fight.
Yeah, so Magus is still, what, like an encounter and a half ahead? And then are, I think, 2-ish behind that. So that's cool. But yeah, man, we're at the home stretch. So the big deal here is, like, I'm sure y'all remember Kazuzu. Great boss. Zoo is like Kazuzu on cracks. It's just like, he psych shields more, he does more damage, he still doom dances all day long. He doesn't have a lot of health in comparison, so it's very much, again, like a huge DPS race, but like, y'all, this is a boss you can spend a long time on. Because the speed at which it can go from like, hey, I'm doing alright, to I'm dead is like incredible. You know, it's a fast-ish fight, but like, it's definitely enough rounds that you can just die at any time. It can be a hard fight to get through. So this is not technically the last piece of RNG. You know, like the last boss can troll you, but this is the last, honestly, like real significant one. This will, for the most part, tell us who's gonna win first, second, and third. With Dark King being kind of not quite a formality, but pretty close.
Yeah, I will say, even when Ben has a life spell in 100%, this fight can still go horribly wrong, really fast.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird, right? It's like, we're gonna make this really accessible game, and the way we make it accessible is by making it easy, but we don't want it to be too easy, so we'll just make everything kill you immediately. What? Alright, let's zoo it up on Magus's stream.
So just like the other fights, you want to get rid of the add-ons as quickly as you can, especially because Dullahan also has Doom Dance.
The nice thing that you saw on Elmagus' stream is Zoo's Psych Shield ability is bugged and it'll only hit you for 1 damage, so that's the good stuff right there. Of course, anything not Doom Dance is probably for the best, but those Psych Shields, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, Zoo will do actual Psych Shield 1 turn less than 1 turn faster than Kazuzu did, and that's an easy.
LOL. Get out, Maggots. Alright, how's Fumo doing? We'll never know how Fumo's doing. Alright. R's got one more encounter before he starts the boss. Alright, Fumo Stream's back. He's still alive, so he's got that going for him. Petrify on Ben, so Magus is definitely having a hard time right now. This is just not a fight ender, but it's very slow. Fumo should have this in the clear. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, freaking Fumo going for the swaggin' kill, huh? I like it. Get Doom Dance for your trouble, no swag. R109 just killed the ads on the fight, so not too far behind Magus. Okay, so Fumo makes it out. I didn't see if he's swagging Claude or not. I hope he did.
Nah, Ben was.
It was
dead.
close though.
Probably should explain the how the last fight works.
Sure, yeah. So, Dark King's kind of a beast. Also, it's faster to just fall and then take the stairs, but then walk all the paths. But big thing about Dark King, multiple forms, good amount of HP. We want to do things fast. And so what they're going to be doing actually is not the usual things we see. We're not going to hit him with our best spells ever. We're actually going to be hitting him with a couple cure spells. And the way that's going to work, and I'm actually pretty fuzzy on it, so I'm sure y'all can step in. But because of what Dark King's HP thresholds are, cure actually ends up in such a way kind of like overflowing and doing a bunch of damage instead of
Time is coming up.
anything else. So
As soon as I hit the last cure.
yeah, that's right.
I'm ready.
So it's going to be time very soon for Fumo, and then Magus gets through Zoo, so he should be a clear second place, and hopefully RO109 gets through here shortly so that we can get a nice and tight finish. So usually Dark King's fight is very straightforward. You really just cure and then defend and then cure again. And that will kill. The only time you get trolled is if Dark King also cures himself. Then that can own you and you might have to redo the battle. But other than that, very straightforward fight. Very nice run by Fumo melee.
Yeah, GG.
Nice run. Who I believe started the run second, not very far behind though, so nice work. And looks like RO109 still getting destroyed by Zoo, so that's fun. And Magus should be getting the same exact fight that Fumo got to end his run very, very shortly.
Yeah, depending on the level that Ben is at, there is a certain threshold for how you actually manage this fight. So in the 100% it looks a little bit different than it does here. And depending on what your actual level is, I think it can vary a little bit, but not too much for any percent.
So Magus will have time soon. Probably entered it just now and is just waiting to actually kill, so that should be time for him. Oh, he missed! He'll be fine, he'll just have to do it again. But that's GG for him. Very nice run. Barely behind Fumo, so that's super awesome. For having to start 8 minutes behind everybody else, that's crazy.
Yeah, the luck of floor 6, it's ridiculous how much it swings this race.
What we all lost here is that the beast from the east is still on Zoo, and so unfortunately this is just the reality of Zoo. We saw no one really had a great time with Zoo, but we're seeing RO109 just really getting it. It's unfortunate, and it's just one of the things that can happen because, like we've said, like it really just takes one turn for things to turn against you, and then suddenly you got to do the fight again. But so far looks pretty smooth. He's on his near dead animation, so as long as he can pump out okay, thank God. I was gonna say as long as he can pump out some damage here, he should be fine. Should be fine though.
Yeah, it should be about a flare away at this point.
Yeah. So he did have to unfortunately wait out a Psych Shield turn, but should be able to get it here. Eee! Nice. So the good news is that, as scary as that felt potentially for anyone, when Zoo's on that last animation, he's dead. So you're good. So the good news is we're a short walk to the last boss for our last runner, and then we'll be able to move on to the next run. Just not quite yet. But ideally, it should be nice and easy, nice and straightforward, and we'll have a nice finish for our boys. One last cutscene to get through here, and then it's on. Really nice run. So Fumo's PB is a 152 and Magus's is a 151, and they're really the only few people that even stretch it down that far. So really, really great runners, and they had a good enough run to sub 2. I know they're really unhappy with a lot of ways certain parts went, but not a lot of people are going to sit down in a relay or marathon or whatever and just crank out a sub 2. So it is legitimately quite impressive. So shout outs to them. And RO109 also has a 159 on the English version, I believe. So not someone to mess with for sure. And I think one of the fastest, if not fastest, Japanese times. And we should get this one last cure here, and then we should have time.
Yep, it looks like it.
Time. GG, everybody. Very
thank you.
Very great race. So good. So good.
Bad luck.
Zoo.
Thank you so much. ありがとうございました。Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us with Mystic Quest. Now we turn it over to our Final Fantasy X team.
Yeah, sorry. Let me sneak in one last thing. Sorry. Everybody knows Magus, so I'm not going to say anything about him. But Fumo, great runner. Not the only thing he speedruns. Check him out. And RO109, really wonderful person. Works really hard. I know he was really nervous about this run too. So, like I asked before, if you can show him a lot of love for his performance today, I would really appreciate it. Thank you to all the people who let me talk, and thank you RPGC, great partner. And thanks y'all. Enjoy the next round.
Pleasure. Enjoy FF10, everybody.